of trust, serving Micronesia since 1938. Matson, celebrating 25 years of commitment to Guam, Micronesia, and the CNMI. Cars Plus Hyundai, home of the Kona electric vehicle, an electric heart with an SUV soul. Test drive yours today at Cars Plus. McDonald's of Guam, I'm Loving It, and King's Restaurant, serving your local breakfast, lunch, and dinner favorites for over 45 years.
Ahead on primetime, COVID cases continue to surge on Guam and in the CNMI. Plus, over 2,500 rental households receive financial relief from the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. And it's been 1 year since the attack on the U.S. Capitol. Hafiday and good evening. This week alone, the island has seen close to 700 cases, and public health continues to urge those who aren't vaccinated or haven't gotten the booster to do so. The high number of new cases prompted Jigo resident Heidi Mesa to have her grandchild take the shot.
It's because of that, and also that everyone else in the house is vaccinated, so we want to get her protected also. The numbers are kind of high and it's worrisome. We would just like everyone to come out and get their vaccination to protect the public and your family, most importantly.
Children 12 to 15 years old are now eligible and encouraged to take the booster shot when they can. The UOG vaccination clinic remains open Mondays to Wednesdays and Fridays from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturdays from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. To book your appointment, go to tinyurl.com/VaxGuam. And the CNMI continues to see alarming numbers of COVID-19 positive cases several weeks into its first surge. Public health is gradually making adjustments based on CDC guidelines, and they're on the hunt for Omicron.
So starting Monday, we will be testing out those arrivals that are unvaccinated on day 5, rather than wait for day 7. So that is going to be reduced.
Another pivot for the travel entry protocol, as the CNMI has reported 3,227 new COVID cases since October 28 last year.
Everyone, of course, the vaccinated do not need to quarantine, but again, they will be tested on arrival. We had shifted the test on arrival simply because of we are looking for Omicron, and those tests are being sent over to CDC for sequencing and to determine exactly what type of variant there is.
Until it's confirmed that Omicron is here, they're holding the front line.
Our quarantine site at PAC and Kanoa are active, and we're doing every measures and standards that are required to prevent and minimize exposure.
They're expected to bring on more staff to assist in that effort and have plans to conduct variant testing on Saipan.
We're getting a lot of support from CDC to prioritize our tests, especially with the surge. But we are looking also similar to Guam to try to get our own equipment here and try to be able to do that here as well, so that we can know right away. Especially when we're talking about the therapeutics.
Over the past couple days, Guam has seen close to 700 new cases of COVID. With the recent uptick, is the Guam Memorial Hospital seeing more COVID patients? Daniel Perez reports.
So we're seeing a high overall patient census that's non-COVID. We have seen a high rate of patients through our ER, not necessarily COVID, just a high overall patient census.
GMHA spokesperson May Habib shared what the island's only public hospital has seen the past week, with patients coming through the ER. Habib added why there was such a sudden burst of patients after the holiday season.
Really, after the holidays, it's a mix of extra food, extra drinking, extra stress, just sort of additional peripheral issues that come with the holidays. That could compound on pre-existing issues, pre-existing comorbidities in our community, that has really led to a high rate of non-COVID patients and a high overall patient census.
Although more non-COVID patients are being admitted,
we are seeing an increase in COVID patients as well. You'll also remember that it's flu season still. So on top of, the eating and drinking that may be compounding health issues, it's still like the natural every year influenza season. So people are also coming in for respiratory needs related to the flu, not COVID. We are seeing more COVID patients, certainly, a lot of whom are coming in testing positive, but they're well enough to go home and isolate at home and finish recovering at home.
With the looming threat of Omicron, GMHA stands ready to treat those infected with COVID. Habib said to counter COVID, the community must be diligent when it comes to them being vaccinated and getting the booster, as well as following the 3 W's of wearing your mask, washing your hands, and watching your distance, as well as getting tested right away and isolating to prevent the spread of COVID. Daniel Perez reporting for Guam's News Network.
And $9 million from the Emergency Rental Assistance Program will help more than 2,500 rental households affected by the pandemic. The assistance payments were made to landlords and utility agencies on behalf of renters who struggle to pay rent or utilities due to the impacts of the pandemic. Governor Leon Guerrero stating, by providing this assistance, we also empower struggling families to focus their spending power on securing other essentials like food and educational materials for their children. We strongly encourage everyone in need to avail of ERA and other lifelines. The ERA program since March of last year has received and processed a total of 4,600 applications seeking assistance for rent, power, water, internet, and other expenses related to displacement and the pandemic. Tenants and landlords needing assistance can log on to doa.guam.gov or call the ERA program at 671-638-4518 or 4519. There is at least one lawmaker who strongly supports a proposal for mandatory island-wide trash collection. Senator Clint Rigel says he believes the plan by the administration and the Guam Solid Waste Authority would also reduce illegal dumping, a problem he's long been trying to address.
I got together a bunch of members of the different organizations within the FAS and FSM communities on Guam, and we did a major cleanup at the Ukadu pipeline. And when we were there, we saw a lot of, it's a dump site, but we saw a lot of just household trash. It literally looked like people just the regular household trash, instead of throwing it in the, in a trash bin, and I'm assuming because they don't have trash service, just took it to this illegal dump site and threw it there.
GSWA has estimated that more than 40% of local households don't subscribe to trash pickup. It's working with the governor's office on a plan for mandatory universal service. He says the government needs to figure out a way to pay for everyone, not just the many residents who can afford it.
Now, if you only pay for those who can't afford it, you're going to have people who can afford it complain and say, that's not fair. How come I don't get free trash service, right? So there's many different ways to do it. But I think ultimately, if we just created some sort of universal trash service program funded by the government, if we can find a way to fund it, I think that would ultimately be the best answer.
He says one way might be to establish a special environmental fund similar to Palau and assess arriving tourists who would appreciate a cleaner, garbage-free island. Meanwhile, the governor and GSWA have yet to formally release details of their plan. And Richard Ibanez has been tapped to serve as acting executive manager for Guam Regional Transit Authority after Sel Babauta resigned, citing health issues. Communications director for the governor, Crystal Paco San Agustin, confirming, saying Governor Leon Guerrero is in receipt of Mr. Sel Babauta's resignation from GRTA and is in communication with the chairman of the board. She's recommended that Mr. Richard Ibanez serve as acting director. He has been employed with GRTA since April 2020 as a special projects officer. Prior to GRTA, he served as the director of Department of Parks and Recreation, but faced scrutiny over public health concerns, which led to the closure of both the island's public pools. He also faced controversy over his termination of former State Historic Preservation Officer Linda Uggan, who would eventually win her appeal before the Civil Service Commission and be reinstated. He would step down from his position at DPR, citing health reasons, at the end of February 2020. And in regional news now, Governor Ralph Torres says no CNMI judge, current or former, is fit to hear his lawsuit against the legislative committee that held him in contempt. He says all local judges should step away. The governor and his team were absent from their weekly press briefing Friday morning, but his legal counsel Gil Burnbrick is firing back to claims made by Chair of the Judiciary and Governmental Operations Committee, Selena Babauta, saying that the governor did not seek a personal meeting with NMI Supreme Court Chief Justice Alexandro Castro. Burnbrick says one of Governor Ralph Torres' attorneys requested a conference to seek clarification on Castro's order to notify the clerk of any cause or reason on why former Judge Timothy Bellis should not preside. Bellis was appointed to hear the lawsuit which challenges the legislature subpoena that Torres was held in contempt for. All 5 Superior Court judges recused themselves from hearing the suit. And this morning, KUAM News obtained a copy of the 2-page letter delivered to the Superior Court on December 30, where Burnbrick and 2 other attorneys representing the governor wrote that Torres believes that no single CNMI judge, current or former, can be truly insulated from the highly partisan atmosphere. He says the case cries out for an appointment of an off-island judge. However, they acknowledge that Torres does not see any statutory grounds to disqualify Judge Bellis. In a separate interview, Delegate Kilili weighed in on the potential impeachment by the House next week.
It is not my duty, it is the obligation, the duty of our legislators, and I will respect their decision one way or the other. I will respect it, and it is sad, but I think it's necessary.
In a battle of checks and balances, the fate of the governor hangs in the balance. And once again, we invite you to voice your view across our social media pages with our daily question. Today we're asking, what are your thoughts on the Navy reinstating the mandatory masking policy on base? We'll share responses on the link. Stick around for more news here on Prime Time.
It's beautiful.
It is, right, baby?
Dad, isn't that where we usually stop for gas?
It's where we used to stop, but not anymore.
But isn't that the place with the milkshakes?
Okay, all right, let's go.
Good job, kids.
Take your adventure further in the first ever Santa Fe Hybrid.
Don't need to work, babe. Keep the smile on your face. The moments you can't replace, and I'll be around.
Wherever life takes you, we're always here for you. Calvo's Insurance. Count on us for life.
And instant prizes from Foot Locker and Burger King. Win the best-selling 2021 Toyota Corolla LE, the crossover SUV 2021 Toyota RAV4 LE, and the dynamic luxury SUV 2021 BMW X1. The more you shop, the more chance to win. In the Micronesia Malls, shop and win.
Let us know what's up on our KUAM News WhatsApp tip line at 671-727-0094. Share information about what's happening in your town, on Guam or the CNMI, and what you want us to know. Reach us on WhatsApp at 671-727-0094. And today the nation marked 1 year since the attack on the U.S. Capitol on January 6. The nation's leaders, including NMI Delegate Kilili, reflecting on the impact of the insurrection today and calling for accountability for what happened.
1 year ago today, in this sacred place, democracy was attacked.
President Biden reflecting on the hours where insurrectionists attacked the U.S. Capitol, interrupting the certification of the election, declaring him president. Rioters fueled by what's now called the big lie, that the election was stolen.
For the first time in our history, a president had not just lost an election, he tried to prevent the peaceful transfer of power as a violent mob breached the Capitol.
In recent weeks, some of the first members of that mob were convicted of assaults and related violent conduct against officers and face significant sentences.
The actions we have taken thus far will not be our last. The Justice Department remains committed to holding all January 6 perpetrators at any level accountable under law.
NMI Delegate Kilili was in D.C. and also wants to see accountability.
Never occurred to me that we were this close actually to losing our democracy, a coup, and the absence of a peaceful transfer of power in our nation.
On January 6, most of his staff were teleworking and he went home for lunch. but wasn't even safe there.
Knocked at the door, and it was the building manager telling us to evacuate because there was a bomb threat. Again, little did I know at that time, but there was actually a bomb right behind the RNC where my apartment was. And so I grabbed my heavy jacket, I ran out, ran down the fire escape, ran out the door, and we were directed to go to the corner of D and 2nd Street, where we stayed there for a while.
He saw crowds growing on his way home.
For the first time in by then my 12 years in Congress, I was actually scared to go into what I thought was the safest place to work in the U.S.
A U.S. sailor was able to buy himself some time from his sentencing for a child pornography case in federal court. Tyler Matanani has our next story.
23-year-old Austin Dodge was involved in an online group chat where the price of admission was the trading of images and videos of child pornography. He was able to dodge prison at least until February. He tuned in via Zoom from Florida for his sentencing hearing on Friday through the District Court of Guam. The U.S. Navy sailor was stationed at Naval Base Guam in 2021 when he was caught exchanging child pornography, or CP, with 41 other people. He pleaded guilty in November 2021 to advertising material involving CP, and in turn was able to get the charges of distribution and possession dropped. He faces 78 to 98 months in prison. His attorney, William Gavris, is fighting for 60 months. Quote, "When I first got this case, I asked to be taken off of it." He continued saying, "It's not a matter of competence, but I just didn't want to see the videos," said Gavris. However, he explained how he was somewhat relieved when he realized the videos and images weren't as severe as other CP cases due to the ages of the victims being 10 to 17 years old and not younger. Chief Judge Francis Tydenko Gatewood acknowledged that Dodge doesn't meet the typical profile of those she's seen for CP cases. He's the youngest defendant to come before Gatewood for CP and the first case she's dealt with that has a charge for advertisement of material involving child pornography. She questioned the defense's request for a lesser sentence and whether the advertising charge would be considered more aggravating because he created the links as opposed to just accessing them. Gavris argued that his client was seeking the thrill and that creating the link was his way of being able to gain access to the chat and that he only did it once. He said that Dodge would often use his father's motorcycle growing up and didn't have it when he came to Guam. Quote, "Riding a motorcycle is dangerous. They get a thrill with being on the edge of life, and I think that's what happened here. One thing I want the court to focus on is he an advertiser or a possessor?" he said. Gatewood acknowledged that Dodge had adverse childhood experiences and that the court needs to avoid disparity in sentencing. His hearing was continued to February 2nd. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Tyler Matanani.
And the Guam Police Department responded to a burglary report on December 19 at the American Medical Center in Upper Tumon. Officers met with the owner of the building who was alerted on his CCTV system that someone had moved the camera's angle. The owner provided snapshots of the suspect. Officer conducted a search and noticed that the door and the deadbolt lock had been damaged. From the surveillance footage, officers were able to identify the suspect as 33-year-old Zachary David Salas Palomo. Court documents stated Palomo admitted that he was at the American Medical Center and he used the shower. He was charged with burglary as a second-degree felony. The construction of the Guam Community College and Guam Police Department's DNA laboratory is nearing completion. According to GCC President Dr. Mary Okada, about 94% of the project is complete.
We anticipate that the project will be completed by February 2022, so next month.
GPD and GCC broke ground for the new lab in October 2019. The decade-long project is funded by a grant from the Department of Interior. The facility will be furnished with federal funds from the Leon Guerrero Tenorio administration. The lab will be located in the back, while the teaching facility will have classrooms in the front. Presently, GPD works with either the NCIS or FBI for help with DNA analysis. And the Liberation Day Queen contest may be returning this year as the island celebrates 78 years of freedom from the Japanese occupation. During the Mayor's Council of Guam meeting on Wednesday, PD Mayor Jesse Alleg, who is also the MCOG president, is asking the body to consider bringing back some Liberation Day festivities this year. He shared his reasoning despite seeing an increase in COVID cases on the island.
It kind of seems like this is going to be our way of life, and so if it is, then we ought to consider not only commemorating the memorials on Liberation Day, which I think are the most, or Liberation, which are the most important, but also looking into other types of festivities that celebrate our liberation. And those activities might be bringing back the Queen's contest and perhaps even a fun raffle.
Alex suggested to the council to establish a standing committee to prepare for liberation, which will have continued discussions throughout January. The MCOG voted unanimously to begin gathering funding for the contest. The deputy mayor added, hopefully by the February monthly meeting, we have a better idea on what we can present to the entire council to ratify for July. With the rise of COVID cases, he noted that it's not likely we'll have a parade this year. And from February 2nd through the 18th, the U.S. Pacific Air Force's largest multilateral exercise, COPE North 22, returns to Guam, the CNMI, and the Federated States of Micronesia. The exercise will have air forces from the United States, Japan, and Australia, who will conduct humanitarian assistance and disaster relief operations. According to an announcement from the military, along with large force employment and combat air forces training this year, Agile combat employment will be a key feature for U.S. forces participating in the exercise. ACE is Pacific Air Force's model to project combat power via a network of distributed operating locations throughout the Indo-Pacific region. More than 2,500 U.S. airmen, Marines, and sailors will train along 1,000 combined Japan Air Self-Defense Force and Royal Australian Air Force service members. Approximately 130 aircraft from over 30 units will fly in the exercise. Stay with us. Coming up next on KUAM Sports with Dave Delgado, and still to come, our Cold Stone Creamery birthday shoutouts. Keep it here. You're watching KUAM.
Honey, do you want some milk?
Do you ever wonder how your favorite products make their way into your local stores? Most arrive on state-of-the-art Matson vessels that transport containers of food, household items, equipment, and supplies into the islands every week. Because we know that you depend on us, we work closely with our partners to ensure that our shipments arrive on time, all the time, so you can find your favorite products when you need them. We transport the region's most precious cargo that supports successful businesses and promotes a better quality of life for our families. Matson is proud to have been the hometown shipping carrier for Guam, the CNMI, and Micronesia for the past 25 years, and you can count on us to be here for generations to come.
Well, I didn't get screened because I was just afraid of it.
I procrastinated.
I didn't have any symptoms.
I didn't have insurance.
I didn't want to know.
There were several services that was available to me.
I got a mammogram.
Colonoscopy.
I know in my heart that early detection saved my life.
And I just tell people all the time, please go get screened.
KUAM Sports is brought to you by Docomo Pacific. Better together.
The 2022 Rising Stars High School Football Showdown is going down this Sunday, January 9th at the GW Field. Guam's top freshman and sophomore players get a chance to suit up one last time. The game is dedicated to the players who missed out on their last youth football season.
Out of all these years I've been coaching, if you give a kid a little incentive, like how to play the sport, or at least a little taste of a game, then you see that their motivation will increase, you know. They'll do more running, they'll do more working out, they'll try to be more attentive. Just in the fact of just letting them play one more game or one more play, that really builds a lot of character on a player.
Teaming up for the Rising Stars will be FD Guam High Simon Sanchez and Teason High representing Team Phenoms. Southern High, GW, JFK, and Ukadu will represent Team Thrashers. Kickoff for the inaugural Rising Stars High School Football Showdown is scheduled for 6:30 at the GW Field.
I just want to play one last game, because my youth years, I could have played my last year in Matua, but it was canceled because of COVID-19. And yeah, I was just really excited.
I hated how we missed my last season for youth, and sucked so bad.
Yeah, we're making new friends. Some of these guys, I've seen them on the field. Now to play with them is pretty fun. Yeah.
Tickets for the game are available on guamtime.net.
Unfortunately, due to COVID, we didn't have the opportunity for these boys to play the last couple of years, so this is a perfect opportunity for them to come out and show their skill set and what they're made of with their true peers. I know some of the guys, they played varsity football, but again, this is an opportunity to play with their true peers, which hopefully will help their confidence and instill into them that they really can play this game at a higher level.
The All-Star game, those are just the juniors, seniors. Sometimes sophomore and freshmen fall under the radar, and they just never get shown their skills.
I'm glad that my work these past few months have been recognized and that I get the opportunity to show that I've really grown over the season.
I'm excited for the upcoming game because we didn't get to play the last season, so we couldn't show who's going to be great and who's getting better and stuff like that. So it's finally an opportunity to show.
I think it's another opportunity to make more friends and to show the whole league that underclassmen are better players too.
One of the things that we look at here is this group actually missed a year of football development. They missed that. So anytime you have a chance to get back some of that with various coaches, like just here on this field, we have coaches from 4 different teams who are here. And so anytime you get a chance to recoup some of the skills that you lost in real-time football, you're going to come out a better player.
Gates will open at 5:30 with kickoff scheduled for 6:30. Catch the live stream this Sunday at 6:30 on KUAM TV8, also streaming on KUAM's Facebook page. Big shout out to IT&E, Pacific Points, Clutch Guam, and KUAM Sports for making the event happen. In programming news, Monday, January 10th at 4 in the morning, NFL on CBS, KUAM TV 11, the Pittsburgh Steelers at Baltimore Ravens. Then at 7:25 in the morning, KUAM TV 11, more NFL on CBS. The second game of the doubleheader, Carolina Panthers at Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Also on Monday, January 10th at 11:20 in the morning, NBC Sunday Night Football. On KUAM TV 8, the Los Angeles Chargers at Las Vegas Raiders.
KUAM Sports is brought to you by Docomo Pacific. Better together.
You are everything that matters to me, and I promise to do whatever it takes to keep you healthy, to be comfortable, and to be free. I love you. As long as we're together, I'll always make sure that home will always be our best place to breathe.
Guam's auto appearance specialist, Elegant Reflections, has been providing the automotive industry with professional detailing and car care products at its highest quality, from complete detailing, full interior detailing, exterior detailing, headlamp restoration, hand washing, seat and carpet shampoo, engine degreasing, undercarriage cleaning, paint sealant, fabric protection, paint oxidation removal, and so much more. Visit us at our new location. Call 646-5555 for an appointment. Elegant Reflections, Guam's auto appearance specialist, over 20 years of experience.
And before we close out the news tonight, our latest round of birthday shoutouts from the Coldstone Creamery Birthday Club.
January 7th wishes going out to Emily Untalan. So happy birthday, number 51, to the most beautiful soul we will ever encounter in this lifetime. We are grateful to celebrate another year of your life with you. Thank you for sharing your heart with the world. We cherish you and love you so much. You get more and more beautiful each day. Love your husband, your kids, and your grandbabies. Great shout out, guys. Tony Flores Kineni, happy birthday to my hubby Tony from the beautiful village of Malesu. Hope you enjoy your birthday. Love your wife Julieta, your sons DeMarco, Tony Ryan, and Kyle. And Crispin Cercado, happy 93rd birthday to you, Daddy. You will always be my hero. Love you to infinity. 3 amazing Guamanians, and we celebrate each and every one of you. We hope you have a safe, healthy birthday and a fantastic island weekend.
Remember, you can be part of the Coldstone Creamery Birthday Club by registering online at KUAM.com. Please make sure to include with your photo your name and your birth date. Well, it's that time of the week where we announce the lucky winner of a delicious Coldstone Creamery birthday cake.
Congratulations and happy birthday! A day after your actual birthday, Carmelyn Tassi Duenas, you are the winner of this week's Coldstone Creamery ice cream cake. We're going to be in touch with you and your family to let you know when you can pick up your prize. And please be safe out there, and happy birthday again. Carmelyn was born, of course, on January the 6th, and she is this week's winner. Carmelyn Tassi, happy birthday once again.
That's going to do it for us here on Primetime. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.
The One Micronesia podcast is brought to you by Docomo Pacific. Better together.
Hafide, Mogustine, and welcome back. The first episode of 2022, and every time I kick off a